Hey guys, so today's video is going to be really fun. I am going to do a full face using makeup techniques that I have never tried before, and they're all ones that you guys have recommended to me. So I asked you guys on both my YouTube community tab and on Instagram stories to share any makeup techniques that changed the game for you. And I said, like, the more different or weird, the better. So we're gonna try some of those out today. I think this will be really fun. I know I'm not the first YouTuber to do a video like this. I know Ali Glines has done some videos like this. I think I've seen Jessica Braun do something similar, so I will link as many below as I can find. But if you're new to my channel, I just want to give you a special welcome. I'm so excited to have you. My channel is really all about helping you find new and creative ways to use the makeup that you have. So if that sounds like fun to you, definitely make sure to subscribe to my channel because I upload 3 or more videos every week. Starting this week, I think it's going to be closer to 4 to 5 videos a week. Just saying. But definitely subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. But let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to start with some base techniques. So Rebecca Clark said her technique is using hot or warm water to wet your makeup sponge. I feel like it makes the makeup melt into my skin better, she said. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go wet my sponge now. This is the EcoTools Bio Blender. Love this sponge. So I got the water as hot as I could get it, just because it's obviously going to cool down a little bit in these next few seconds. Another technique I'm going to try for my base is using less concealer and concealer before foundation. Figured I would try this out. I feel like this might be something I've tried before, but most of the time I apply foundation before concealer. So I'm just going to use my Project Pan concealer, the Too Faced Born This Way. And I am going to try, applying less. I do feel like lately I've been into just doing like one little dot there and one out here because I feel like it looks better when I use less, go figure. But I feel like the sponge is already really cooled off. Let me go re-wet it with hot water again. All right, the sponge is warm again. Let's do this. Oh, let me zoom you in as well. So it could just be in my head, but I do feel like the warmth of the sponge is helping to blend in the product better. It also just feels kind of nice. Reminds me of like those spa washcloths, that are like warm and steamy that you put over your face. Yeah, there you go. This eye is always darker than this one. I don't know why. Very natural and skin-like. I do think applying less is always a good idea. You know what I'm actually gonna do also is kind of spot conceal the areas where I like to have a little bit more coverage before I apply foundation, just to really test that concealer before foundation trick a little bit more. I'm just gonna kind of stamp that in rather than like really blending it. I just want it to kind of stay concentrated on that spot, Oh, it doesn't look super blended over here, but that's okay because we're about to apply foundation. All right, so for foundation, I'm just going to use my Urban Decay Hydromaniac. So that looks great, and I definitely don't feel the need to go over this area with more foundation like I sometimes do, just because I feel like that concealer just kind of bumped up the coverage of the foundation as much as I needed. So that looks good, I like it. So I'm not sure if this one's gonna work well for me, but I'm gonna try it. Diana said, applying powder with a sponge instead of a brush. I have very oily skin, and no matter how much I would swirl the powder brush around my face, it would still feel tacky. A sponge just concentrates more product on a smaller area of the face. So I don't have very oily skin like Diana does, but I still know what you mean about using a powder brush. Sometimes those areas still feel tacky. So I'm gonna try this with a loose powder. I do feel like I don't like putting a sponge into a pressed powder, at least not a damp sponge. So I'm gonna try, this is the Pacifica Crystal Rays Luminous Translucent Setting Powder. And I'm gonna try this for my under eyes. Just tapped a little bit into the lid there. Kind of scary because I don't normally do this. All right. Just gonna tap some onto my sponge. Maybe it would be better to use a dry sponge. I don't know, we'll just see. So this powder is weird because it's got like a pinkish tint to it. So maybe this would be better with like a truly matte powder or like a skin tone powder. It's not bad though. I mean, I feel like you can't necessarily tell that it has that pink tint from where you are. It's really just like up close. it feels like too much, you know? Okay, so my under eyes don't feel tacky, so it did work in that regard. I'm still not sure that this particular powder is the best for this technique. All right, I'm just gonna commit and do this for my T-zone as well. In the summer, I have noticed my skin's been a little bit, I would even say oily, and that could just be from like the humidity in the air. I've actually been, you know, paying more attention to like staying power on my face because my T-zone does tend to kind of break down a little bit by the end of the day. You know, I don't mind this technique at all. I thought I wouldn't like it, but it's not bad. Now, my main concern is that it would kind of like lift up my foundation weirdly or make it look patchy, but no, I mean, I feel like it looks good. It does not feel tacky. Another technique that I feel like this isn't that unheard of, and I've heard of it before and thought to myself, that makes sense, but I've never actually tried it for myself, which is silly. But it is changing up the order in which I apply face color products. This is from Jess. Highlighter first, then bronzer, and lastly blush. And this makes sense because often I feel like what I struggle with is the highlighter looking too stark, you know, like just like a stripe of highlight. So this, I feel like this just makes total sense because this is naturally going to make the highlighter look more blended. The other tip I wanted to try that ties into that one is placing highlighter only close to the outer corner of my eye and diffusing it upward, never on the cheek. That's another thing I feel like I've struggled with highlighter is like sometimes, you know, applying it to the cheekbone, sometimes it ends up coming too far in and then it really looks weird on these like pore areas. So one of those things where I'm like, oh, duh, like that makes sense. I'm gonna use this Pixie highlighter, the Pixie Glowy Gossamer Duo in Subtle Sunrise. I recently received this from Look Fantastic, and I've only tried it a couple times, but I love this brush. This is the E.L.F. Precision Featherlight Highlighting Brush. This is the only brush I will do highlighter with now. Like, it's just so good. Let's see, let's just mix these two together. Why not? So only applying it to the outer corner of the eye and diffusing it upward. So I'm guessing like just kind of this area right here. How does that look? I feel like some of it still kind of ended up on the cheek, even though I didn't put my brush there, but it definitely looks more natural and I'm not dealing with like too much, because if you've ever put too much highlighter like on your cheek, you know how bad that looks. Like sometimes you just accidentally get too much over here and it's like, whoa, not cute. But that looks very natural and it doesn't even look like I'm wearing highlighter. Ooh, I like that. Okay, okay. So they said highlighter first, then bronzer, then blush. So for bronzer, I'm gonna use my Wet n Wild Franken Bronzer that's in my project pan because I have not been using this enough. And I'm gonna use one of my favorite techniques for this and mix that with my pressed like skin tone face powder, just because this bronzer is a little too dark for me. And the way that I do that, I showed this tip in my tips for repurposing a face powder video, but I'm just gonna tap my brush in there a couple times and then tap it into the bronzer a couple times. I just get a much more like natural and diffused application that way. Just blends so much more easily. And now blush last. So I'm gonna use, I think I'm just gonna use my Aether Amber Cheek palette and do this middle shade, which is called Balance. Love that shade. What brush do I want? I'm just gonna use the same brush. I feel like using the same brush for both bronzer and blush just kind of makes them blend together even better. And this is a very pigmented blush, so don't need much. And you can totally still see the glow from that highlighter. Okay, so I feel like it looks good, except that when I look up close, and I'm not sure if this is because of the powder trick or because I was too aggressive with my brush. I don't feel like I was, but some of the, kind of the border between my under eye and my cheek area is looking kind of separated, like it almost picked up a little bit of the foundation in that area, even though I set it with powder before I went in with the cheek products. Let me give you a really up close look so you can see what I'm talking about. Not sure if you can see, but like right in this area, I feel like it looks like it kind of picked up my foundation and it's looking kind of like skippy. See what I mean? I mean, I'm trying like a bunch of new techniques at once, so it's hard to even know what, like where I'm going wrong. I think that's a good problem for my Pixie Glow Mist to handle. Typically when that kind of thing happens at the end, when I'm done with like my face and everything, I just do a couple spritzes of the Pixie Glow Mist and it tends to kind of fix that. So we'll try that at the end. Hopefully that'll be enough for that. Okay, so I'm just gonna apply my eyelid primer as always. Nothing new about that technique. So eye primer is on and brows are filled in, and the brow technique that I'm gonna try today is using a fluffy eyeshadow brush to blend out the front of your eyebrows. I do feel like I could use a little blending over here, so let's try this out. This is just the BK Beauty 201. Really enjoying these BK Beauty brushes. I'm kind of scared that it's gonna like make them look messy, but I'm just gonna be very light-handed with it, so. And maybe this works better if you use like brow powder rather than pomade. I use the ABH Dip Brow pomade, but yeah, I mean, it looks more blended over here. Not bad. I'm not very happy with the way my brows turned out today. I don't know what it is. Usually I feel like just using my spoolie to kind of blend out the product is enough, so I don't know if that tip is necessarily for me. I feel like the brush kind of like picked up the foundation around my eye now. I don't know, why does that keep happening? I'm just gonna tap it over with my sponge. I feel like it's fine now. Alright, for my eyeshadow look, I'm gonna try two techniques. The first one is from Janelle. And she said, doing what Ali Glines calls the scoopity boopity in the inner corner, bringing inner corner highlight up to follow the crease of the eye slightly. It gives a completely different look than just having a small spot of highlight right on the inner corner. So I hadn't heard of that technique from Ali Glines before, but I did kind of snoop around on her channel to find a video where she showed how she did it. And I can link that video below where I found her doing it, but she kind of just used like a small detail, maybe like a pencil brush or like a little crease brush like this to apply her inner corner highlight, and then she just kind of took it up slightly into the crease. So I thought that looked really pretty, and I do love a good inner corner highlight. So I figured we'd try that today. And then the other technique I wanted to try from Instagram is doing a white kohl liner before shadows, then doing colorful liner with shadows. Brings out the color more. So I don't have like a white kohl liner, but I do have the NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk that I'm going to use for this. So I think what I'm going to do, if I'm understanding correctly, is draw like a wing with this and then apply colorful shadow over it for my winged liner. So hopefully those two eyeshadow techniques will work well together. I think I'm going to keep the eyeshadow pretty neutral, so I think I'm going to use my Aether palette today. So I'm just going to start with this beige matte color in my crease. Alright, I think I want to go kind of warm and peachy with this look, so I'm going to go into my ColourPop Miss Bliss palette with this like medium peach color called Loves It. A technique that is not new to me, but a lot of you guys mentioned as a game-changing technique is using the NYX glitter primer or like a glitter glue underneath your shimmer. So I'm going to do that today, even though this is a technique I use all the time. But what I do is I always use a regular eye primer underneath. I need that just to keep everything from creasing. This is more to make the shimmers pop. That's really the purpose of this. So once I've applied my regular primer and my matte shadows, or at least most of my matte shadows like in the crease, I take like a tiny dab of that and just kind of tap it onto the lid wherever I'm going to be applying shimmers. And you really don't need much. From there I'm going to apply this like shimmery peach shade from Miss Bliss all over the lid. I'm going to take like a mix of these two matte peaches into the crease just to blend that out some more. So now that I've got kind of like the groundwork laid down for this eye look, I'm going to go ahead and do the eyeliner trick with the white eyeliner underneath. Since this is like a jumbo pencil, I'm gonna use an angled liner brush to lay this down. This is the BK Beauty 208. Actually, you know what I might do? Since this pencil is like pretty sharpened still, I'm just gonna kind of smudge it along the upper lash line. Maybe that'll be easier. Okay, so kind of got that on messy. Now I'm gonna take the angled brush and just sort of wing that out. Gonna get it smoother on there. Okay, so that's on. That looks kind of funny right now. I'm thinking, or I'm eyeing this single from CRUELTY. This is their matte shadow in Coastline. Let's do it. I've been really into like a peach and blue kind of look lately. And I'm gonna just use that same angled brush. I really like this one because it is so thin and precise. Like this is the most precise angled liner brush I've ever seen. And as is, this shadow is already quite pigmented. So this will probably just help it pop even more. This really is going on so pigmented. And this shadow is already a pretty pigmented shadow to begin with, but this would probably be a really good tip for eyeshadows that aren't as pigmented, that you still want to be able to wear as an eyeliner. That is such a pretty blue color. So pretty. I really do feel like that helped the blue pop even more. Like, doesn't that just really make a statement? So next for the inner corner trick, I think Allie Glines was saying that she uses her face highlighter for this most of the time. So I'm just gonna go back into that Pixie Glowy Gossamer duo, and I'm just gonna again do a mix of both. And first apply that to just the inner corner like I always would. Bring it up into the crease. I'm excited for this tip. I think this is really smart. So it just kind of opens up the eye. So there is with that technique and there is without. And I think I saw her take her inner corner highlight onto the lower lash line a little bit further too. I'm gonna grab my crease brush again and just blend the edge a little bit. Okay, so that looks really pretty. I like that. Okay, I'm loving this look. I mean, obviously, because it involves peach and blue, which are two of my favorite colors. Before I go any further with mascara, because I almost forgot, I'm gonna apply my Pixie Glow Mist. Just a couple spritzes. All right, so for the lips, I think this will be the last technique because it's the last step of my routine, I think. And it says dark/cool lip liner diffused at bottom center lip and top outer edges instead of overlining. So for my dark cool lip liner, I'm gonna use the Jordana Rockin' Rose. I'm guessing this should work because it's kind of like a cool pinkish brown. And it is, you know, darker than my skin tone. I wouldn't say it's like dark, but we're gonna try this. Hopefully I'm understanding the technique correctly. So, bottom center. I think they mean like almost contouring here in the center of the lip. I'm gonna kind of diffuse that with my finger. And top outer edges. So I'm gonna go in with a lighter nude lipstick. I'm gonna use the E.L.F. Seriously Satin Lipstick in Cream, just because this is lighter than that lip liner. My lips are kind of dry today. Probably gonna end up topping this with a gloss, but I may need to go back over that with the lip liner again, because it kind of covered it up. I didn't think about that. Kind of kept that mainly on the center for the top. So let's go back over that with the lip liner just to make that show up a little bit more. feel like it looks a little messy, and that's probably user error on my part. But I do feel like my lips look a little bit fuller. Not necessarily better though. Let me put some gloss on just because I feel like I need that right now. Okay, I'm just gonna put a little bit of this E.L.F. lip plumping gloss in Pink Cosmo over that. I do think it added some dimension to my lips, that lip liner trick, and made them look a little bit more full, but I think my technique could maybe use a little practice. Okay, so that is my full face of new techniques that you guys shared with me. I think that my favorites were the highlighter, keeping the highlighter like right around the outer corner of the eye. That I think is going to be a keeper for me. I also really enjoyed applying my cheek products in the opposite order of what I usually do, so highlighter, then bronzer and blush. I think that's going to be a keeper as well. I enjoyed the little, what was it, the scoopity boopity inner corner. I think I'm going to keep doing that. Maybe not all the time, but I do like the effect that that has on my eyes. And applying the white eyeliner underneath the colorful shadow definitely helped it pop. So I think I'm definitely going to keep doing that, especially when I'm using an eyeshadow that maybe isn't as pigmented as I would like it to be for the winged liner. But yeah, honestly, none of these tips were like a total fail. I feel like the powder tip is probably not for me just because I don't have oily skin, but I might do that one on days where I'm going to be like outside all day or I really want to keep my makeup in place and set it really effectively. But I think that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already. And hopefully I'll talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye!